Hey, I'm Andrew.
Oh, I'm Ronzi.
And we're AA Batteries, and we're going to be reviewing Prince Caspian, the second installment to the Chronicles of Narnia movies.
Funny enough, I'm reading it.
No way. What a coincidence.
A major motion picture, according to this sticker on here.
It's not minor.
It's major.
Let's get started. We're going to go right into the lead actors again. The Pevensies. Ronzi, why don't you start?
Well, the Pevensies are good. They were just like they were in Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe. They're still good actors for their age. I really enjoy the presence that they bring to the movie. My only beef is that Peter has become annoying. He's used to being a king in Narnia, and now he's a kid again, and he just wants to be treated like an adult and like a king, but no one's going to treat him like a king, so he gets into fights and stuff, and it kind of gets annoying. So, I give it a half a star for the Pevensies.
Mm-hmm. For me, I gave them a star, and here's my reasons why. Again, Susan, Edmund, and Lucy really played their roles well, but I'm going to talk about Peter especially because you brought him up. I personally liked his anger, his frustration that he was a king in Narnia. He was the leader that he wants to be. Maybe his dad wanted him to be. And then it all got taken away from him. And now he's just living in this frustration. Yes, it's different from the book, but it works really well and adds more depth to the character of Peter that was not present in the books. That may have been hinted a little bit in the books, but not expounded upon like in the movie. So I gave them a star.
Okay. Next, we'll talk about Caspian. What are your thoughts on Caspian?
One, I did not like that they casted someone a lot older. I always pictured Caspian to be much younger. Ben Barnes played Caspian, and he did a fair job, I believe. Mm-hmm. But looking at him, I didn't fully see Caspian like I see the Pevensies. He didn't do good enough. So I gave him a half a star.
Okay, see, I actually like Ben Barnes. I do agree he was a little bit older than what I envisioned Caspian to be. I always pictured him to be on the younger side of things. At least the same age as Peter. I really liked him as Caspian. I thought Ben Barnes brought an air of authority to the character that I really liked that. My only problem with him is what accent is that?
I don't know.
It's like, I really liked Caspian, so I gave him a star.
Now we're going into supporting cast. Ronzi, what is your take?
Supporting cast. Main supporting cast, I would say, was Trumpkin the Dwarf, Nickabrick the Dwarf, Truffle Hunter the Badger, and Reapy Cheep the Mouse. Nickabrick and Truffle Hunter, they're really cool and stuff. My favorite, though, is Trumpkin and Reapy Cheep. Trumpkin is played by Peter Dinklage, who has been in a ton of stuff.
I think it's Dinklage.
Dinklage? You're right, it's Dinklage.
There we go.
Peter Dinklage plays Trumpkin, and he's been in a bunch of stuff. He's great. I like him. In the book, Trumpkin was, joyful and happy all the time, and it kind of bugged me when I read the book. I'm like, why is this guy happy? He almost just got killed. He should be at least not this happy. And so when Dinklage played Trumpkin, he kind of toned down the happiness, and he was a little bit gruffer, and I really liked that. It added to the character. But my favorite was Reapy Cheep. Eddie Izzard voiced Reapy Cheep, and oh my gosh, was Reapy Cheep awesome in this movie. So I gave supporting cast a star.
I gave supporting cast half a star, and here is my side to it. The supporting cast did a fair job. Peter Dinklage did a fair job. But I felt like he didn't fully capture the character. However, Reapy Cheep, Eddie Izzard as Reapy Cheep did a fantastic job in capturing the sprightness and the courage of the character. However, let me see here. Who were the other characters again?
Truffle Hunter was the badger, and Knickerbrick was the black dwarf, the bad
Truffle
one.
Hunter did a fair job, and Knickerbrick I think could have been a much better developed character in that movie, so I gave him a half a star.
Okay. Next is the bad guy, Mirez. What are your thoughts on Mirez?
No, okay, Mirez was a fairly good bad guy, if you can call him that. And just to be fair, it's hard to follow up the White Witch.
Oh, yeah.
It's very, very hard to follow up. And in this film, he could have done so much more. I thought the actor portraying him didn't do a really, really good job, or as good of a job as he could have been. And yeah, I just didn't like him that much. I didn't picture him as Mirez that much, so I gave him a half a star.
I liked Mirez. I thought he was decent. So Mirez, I thought was great. So I gave him a star.
Awesome. Plot, storyline. Ronzi, go.
All right. Well, the plot storyline of Prince Caspian. The four Pevensies are, in London, and they get pulled away from the train station and into Narnia, and as they go on, they save Trumpkin's life, and he goes on to explain that Prince Caspian is here, and he is escaping. His uncle is trying to kill him, and he's uniting all the Narnians together, and we're going to fight in this war, and we need your help, and it's really cool, and then they fight their war, and they win, and they go home, and they leave Prince Caspian on the throne. Obviously not a Cair Paravel, because Cair Paravel's been destroyed.
Yep.
But that's pretty much the plot of it. It's a simple fight to claim the throne kind of a story, and liberate Narnia, not from 100-year winter under the tyranny of the White Witch, but from extinction this time. Mm-hmm. Bring them out and let Narnia live again. And I really love the plot of the story, and they really did bring the plot into the movie. There were some things that they changed and whatnot, but I feel like the few things that they changed, at least plot-wise, was okay. Like, they had a raid on the castle and things like that. I really liked the raid on the castle. I thought it was fun. But the overall plot, it's all there. It's a little sped up, but it's all there. So I gave it a one star.
I gave it a star as well. As a standalone film, the plot storyline is very engaging. The drama is enticing, and the action is very, very good. It's very, very good, especially at the last battle scene.
Oh yeah, that battle scene's sweet.
It's
the look of the film. What are your thoughts?
I thought the look of the film, I'm going to be honest, it wasn't anything revolutionary, it wasn't anything special, but it was still amazing to look at. It was still amazing to see Narnia come to life. It wasn't anything impressive, it wasn't anything grand as the first Narnia movie, but it was still very well done. I gave it a star.
Yep. The look of the film, I actually thought it was an improvement on Narnia, on Wardrobe. Because the one complaint I have with Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe was it felt too small. I felt Prince Caspian actually made it bigger, and I liked that. Narnia needed to be bigger. But overall, yeah, I agree with you. It's nothing uber spectacular or anything. But where it looks good, it looks really good. The scenery looks good. The CGI, where they still use it, looks good. And for the most part, again, they use people in costume where they need it, and then CGI for CGI for the animals and things like that. I thought it looked really good, so I also gave it a star.
Now we're going to go to True to the Book. Ronzi, go.
I got two thoughts on this. The essence of the story is true to the book. Everything's there. They sped things up, but that can be imagined. When you take a book and turn it into a movie, you have to speed things up. They added certain things, like the raid on the castle, which I already said I really liked. They added a scene where they show the calling of the White Witch. In the book, it's pretty much them beginning to call the White Witch back into Narnia, and then everything gets stopped. Whereas in this movie, they kind of drew that out a little bit and let us see the White Witch coming, and they added a little bit of a temptation in there. I kind of liked that. So I liked the essence of the movie, but in reality, it's nothing like the book. My biggest beef is that Prince Caspian and Peter hated each other. They just butt heads and didn't like each other. They were always at each other's throats. So in essence, it's like the book, but in reality, it's not. I give it no star because I just couldn't get over what they did change.
Is it true to the book? Is it true to the book? So, at some parts, no. But at some parts, yes, it is. And some of the changes, some are for the better, some of the changes are for the worse. One of the changes, the Caspian and Susan romance that should have never been, and everyone would have lived happily ever after the end. And at first I didn't like the grade on the castle, but to think about it, it shows Peter's impatience and frustration. Is it true to the book? Of course not. There's definitely some areas where it's not. But mainly it still has the main plot in it. So I gave it a half a star.
Okay.
Let's look at the action, and I'll start. The action was very, very, very good.
Oh,
the
yeah.
raid,
Mm-hmm.
the raid was
The raid was exciting.
Very exciting. Even though it was the book, and when I left the movie theater when I saw it, and bear in mind that was many years ago, but I was like, why did they put the raid in? It didn't accomplish anything. You could have deleted that scene, and everything would have been, and nothing would have changed pretty much. But looking back at it, I like the raid scene even more, and even the battle scene, even when the trees came up and started fighting.
Cool.
That was so epic. I gave it a star.
I also gave the action a star. I'm not going to talk too long about it, but I think they took Wardrobe and they amped it up.
Yes.
Wardrobe had some battles. This one had war. I really liked it.
Seriously.
Again, it's a Disney movie. They didn't show a lot of blood and gore. They didn't need blood and gore, but they made it feel like people were dying. They made it feel like it was actual warfare. I loved the action. And then, the raid, the trees, the river god coming out and taking care of the bridge. It was just so cool. So I gave the action a star.
Enjoyability, Ronzi.
For the most part, this movie is enjoyable. But the way Peter and Caspian, just because I don't really like how their relationship works and how they kind of treat each other, it kind of ruins the movie as a whole for me. I find it less enjoyable when they're on screen together. However, the rest of the movie is very enjoyable, and almost any scene with Reapy Cheap is just automatically awesome. So I give the enjoyability a half a star.
I gave the enjoyability a half a star. It was not as enjoyable as the first film.
Personal preference.
To me, this film is not worthy of a star or even a half a star. It's a fairly good sequel, but it did not rise up to my expectations of it. There are many flaws in this movie, and many changes that I didn't like either. So I gave it no stars for personal preference.
My personal preference is I love Narnia. And I like this movie to a degree, but it's mostly only for the plot.
Yeah.
I don't really enjoy watching it. I put it on, it's just like, eh. So I gave it no star.
So what was your total?
My total is 7 stars.
My total was 6.5 stars, but man, we differ on a lot of points in this.
We really did, yeah.
Which
is good.
Yeah, it's very good.
But it's good except for the fact that you disagree with me, which is wrong.
Well, that's your personal preference. I give you no stars. So yeah, this has been our review. This has been our review of Prince Caspian, the second installment to Chronicles of Narnia. We're going to be reviewing Voyage of the Dawn Treader pretty soon, whether next week or the upcoming weeks. So look for that. And that's pretty much it. I'm Andrew.
I'm Ronzi.
And we are Double A Batteries, signing off. Until next time.